Completion of Part 2, The World of the Names, the Roe and the Hind. It is quite understandable that Mordecai should come forth where it is revealed what is the secret of the anointing oil of the anointed. For with Mordecai something is revealed of the secret of the redemption. Ancient lore also has it that Mordecai in this world is like Moses in his. And just as myrrh is the foremost of spices, so Mordecai in this world is the first of the Sadakim. In the language of the world of Babel, the name Mordecai points at something small, unpretentious. Ancient lore has it that Mordecai, even when he was famous and exalted, yet remained modest and silent. In the world of Medes and Persians, it is meet that the Redeemer remains silent. As regards myrrh, ancient lore does not confine itself to the mere statement that it is a particular spice. There is much more about it. Thus, it is said that myrrh is not a botanical product, but that it comes from an animal like a roe. From the inside, or as the case may be, from the throat of the roe comes myrrh. The roe with Mordecai, the hind with Esther. The relationship of Mordecai to Esther is also more than the story can express in the image. Virtually, it is here the man-woman relationship, which has to do with the man-woman relationship in the whole creation. Esther is rather the wife of Mordecai than of Ahasuerus. She merely allows herself to be bound to Ahasuerus to make this world possible, to bring it to solution. For the rest, she is connected with Mordecai in quite a different way. The deer in ancient lore is ever closely related with the name David. In Jewish usage, the name David is generally connected with the deer, which is called David Tzvi, which means David deer. The deer has to do with redemption. It is the expression also of the speed with which redemption is coming, preceding all. That myrrh is connected with the deer, the roe shows that the 5 ingredients for the anointing oil hide a special secret. Esther, as Agilith HaShakur, speeds on before dawn. With her melody, she also heralds the end of the night. Mordecai's myrrh comes from the roe, from the throat, where his voice is, and similarly speeds ahead of the 5 ingredients of the anointing oil. Myrrh, as tradition has it, is gathered in, where the roe has sent it forth from his throat. With his gathering in, one acquires the first of the 5 ingredients of the anointing oil. In this exile, Esther and Mordecai herald the redemption. The fact that they are there is the foreboding, just as daybreak precedes the new day. Mordecai is also considered a descendant of the tribe of Jonathan, the son of King Saul. Just as Saul is the precursor of the ultimate king, so Mordecai is the herald. Myrrh is the opening word of the 5, the Redeemer at the gate. Mordecai abides at the gate of the palace of Ahasuerus. He sees what goes in and what goes out. It is indeed the place for this Redeemer. He knows the operation of this world. He knows what laws it has, and he knows what is moving towards the nucleus. During the dramatic days when things proceed to extremities, Mordecai rends his clothes and puts on sackcloth with ashes, sitting in the gate, fasting and anguished. Thus the Redeemer, too, sits as a beggar in the gate of the world of Edom. Mordecai sits there but takes no part in the world of Ahasuerus. He sits watching things and remains alone. He disturbs the fair and beautifully smooth image of Haman. Why that beggar there in that place? The beggar is the personification of the Abri, of one that is ever different from the standard of this world. He does not come up to the average. He is not in fashion. He is not modern. Myrrh is already there, to be true, all during the exile. The rose spits it forth from his throat, from his innermost. It is gathered in. This myrrh is there at the gate of the palace of the king of this exile. Its presence is a vexation to the force of development. In this myrrh, it is instinctively aware of the first of the 5 constituents of the anointing oil, the first constituent, after which the 4 others will come. Again, the structure of the 1 and the 4. Mordecai, the solitary. In the story of Esther, Mordecai is called the Jehudai. In the world of Porus Umodai, only one part of the biblical realm, the part of Jehudah, is visibly present. In that part, Benjamin also lives. And as man of the temple, there is Levi. The tribe of Simon travels about as preceptor to the children. By then, the other part of the realm has disappeared from visibility. So those that come into the exile of Babel are of the realm of Jehudah. Hence, the story of Esther always speaks of the Jehudim, the people of Jehudah. Like all the other constituents of the two realms and of the undivided realm, the Jehudim are Hebrew, that is, Ephraim. Jehudah is the part of which the king originates, beginning with David. In the name Jehudah, the name of God as the Lord is included. The vexation of Haman are there, Jehudim, among whom Mordecai is the most outstanding. He is the pure one, and for that reason seated at the gate of the king's palace in this world, and he knows all going in and going out. In this concept, Jehudi, however, Mordecai represents the tribe of Benjamin. In Benjamin stands the temple which Nebuchadnezzar destroys, and which after the rebuilding has started, Ahasuerus fails to finish. For Haman does not want it. How could people obey the laws of the Medes and the Persians if the temple should get more and more completed? The temple is the very opposite of these laws. For instance, in the Holy of Holies in the temple, there is the ark, which on every side has an open space of 10 cubits, the whole space measuring 20 cubits by 20, and the wings of the cherubim on the ark measure 10 cubits each. Where and how does the ark stand there? Ancient lore has it that it is so through a miracle. Come out with this in the world of Ahasuerus. Surely a house in which God lives must not be completed. Indeed, it is allowed to put in a little work at times and to talk about it. This forms part of the tricks of the laws of nature. Canalize all feelings. File them, mind you, keep an eye on them. It is a useful thing that people do some temple building, sometimes speeding things up, sometimes slowing them down. At certain stages, it may be stated that there really is no time for it and that building had better be stopped. The main thing is that the temple does not get finished. Mordecai is of Benjamin, the place where the temple is. From Jehudah, there is a strip running through Benjamin and ending in the temple. It is in the temple, at the altar with the four corners, that Jehudah and Benjamin come together. In Mordecai, too, Jehudah and Benjamin meet. As a Benjamite, he is also Jehudi. Rachel and Leah come together again and form a unity, just as Jehudah and Joseph form a unity. Ancient lore formulates it in this way. Mordecai is both of Jehudah and of Benjamin. It also points at Mordecai's ancestor Shimei, the son of Gera, who came on David's way when the latter had trouble with his rebellious son Absalom. David then paid no heed to Abishai's counsel and granted Shimei's life, because David knows that from Shimei will come forth this Mordecai. The things that may come forth from such. This ancient lore states that Haman, the 16th generation from Amalek, had grandsons belonging to Judaism and learning Torah, just as grandchildren of Sisera learned with children in Jerusalem, and grandchildren of Sennacherib taught the Torah in public. One of the grandsons of Haman, Samuel bar Shilath, is specially mentioned as an example in tradition. Just because David grants Shimei's life, it is not until Shimei pursues the two servants that the son of David, Solomon, puts an end to existence. Mordecai is called the Jehudi after David. Finally, ancient lore here reads Jehudi as Deshidi, which means the solitary one standing apart. For whoever does not follow the way of the gods, the way of development is called a Jehudi. Thus, Mordecai, also as the Jehudi, also the solitary one, the Ivri, he that is different. He stands apart because all the time and everywhere he points at the oneness of God. He is alone, so much so, the ancient lore states that not even all the Jehudim appreciate Mordecai after Haman had been overcome and Mordecai had become the king's executor. It is true, a large number of them appreciated him, but part of the leaders kept aloof from Mordecai. Such is the fate of the Redeemer in the exile. In spite of everything, he is not recognized. He is not seen. Mordecai is the precursor, the expression in this world. That is why he remains silent, modest. Recognition implies eschatology. So this is the characterization of Mordecai. He is a man in the middle of growth, development. An individual man, it is the herald of something different, which is not disposed to give to the power and riches of Haman. However, it never is a community. Mordecai is alone. As Mordecai, one is ever alone. The others, eventually forming a community, do listen, willingly or unwillingly, with their own intentions and purposes, quite pleased with the results, even bewildered by them. But they ever remain the community over against Mordecai. Even the Jehudim are passive, look on, undergo with him. But Mordecai is the one that acts. The neshama cannot be silent when it is a matter of recognizing Haman, recognizing the gods of development. When Mordecai and Haman have recognized each other, the story is approaching its climax. It is when development recognizes the other force that the crisis comes. The story of Esther relates this recognition. It is the story of the fortunes of the world of development, of the world believing in the power of the natural laws. It tells us this world approaches a time of crisis. It also shows the eschatological aspect. It relates about the downfall, the devaluation of all values, and it speaks of the thereafter. It also speaks of the same thing in every single human life, on which the same pattern is stamped, because every man is the world. Every moment even bears the same pattern in its coming and going. The Ruach HaKodesh speaks of the essential, speaks of the seal of God. Now that the personalities, the characters have been typified, the story can begin. One may now sense the unfathomable width and depth of a story written with the Ruach HaKodesh.